Hello guys, so this is the module overview for module number 2, and this is the first module where you're going to end up having a major writing assignment. We're going to have 4 of these all together, and this is the first one of all. So this will be a paper that you're going to write for the course. I'm going to skip ahead to the paper part, and then we'll go back through all of the other little bits. So this is the assignment page for the paper. And what you're going to do is write a literacy narrative, which is a autobiographical essay that explores your experience and relationship with language or some other kind of literacy. So speaking, listening, reading, and writing are all forms of literacy. But if you saw the concept video, you will also see that there are different kinds of literacy as well. So like learning a skill, learning any kind of thing where you have to practice it a lot over and over again in order to learn how it works, but also anything that involves some kind of communication, like being on a sports team. So any of those things can be subjects for this paper. We're going to do some brainstorming to get ideas for it, but basically you're just going to write a 1,000 to 1,500 page, 1,000 to 1,500 word paper describing a time in your life where you had an experience with one of those kinds of literacy. So this could be sitting on your couch with your grandmother learning how to read. This could be trying to learn English for the first time at a new school where everyone speaks English and you only speak your home language. It could be a major writing assignment that you tried really hard on and you did well on. It could be having to read in front of the class and being really scared and learning to overcome that. It could be the first job that you had and learning how to take orders at your fast food job. It could be any kind of thing like that. So we'll explore that more as we go through the brainstorming activities. So back to the module. You've already clicked on this part because you're watching this video. But in the module overview, we have this video, and then we also have the literacy concept video where I go over different forms of literacy, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about there. After that, we have the readings, which will be which chapter is this one? Yeah, chapter 6, and then this very brief document explaining more about what a literacy narrative is. Chapter 6 talks about memoir. It's the closest chapter we have to talking about this. It has a really good example of a memoir in it. It has a very short little brief piece of Frederick Douglass's life of a slave, which is a really good book. The title just blanks on me at the moment. So that's an example of a literacy narrative. Okay. So that's the readings. Then you're going to have chapter questions. Chapter questions are pretty straightforward. What makes a piece of memoir? What makes a piece of literacy narrative? Which of the samples did you find the most compelling? And explain why. So read all of the samples in the book and pick which one you liked the most. Don't just repeat what I said just now. Let's see. Next one is Module 2, Story Time. And what this is you're going to give us a short little memoir of your time in high school. So I've given a sample video here of from my own life, but just keeping in mind what you know about memoir. Create a short video memoir in less than 4 minutes. Tell us about a time in high school that changed the way you thought about the world, and try not to make it too dark and keep it PG, but shouldn't be a problem. Maybe it's something your teachers told to you maybe something that you figured out reading a book or just by knowing other people or something like that. Let's see, next part. So that's all of the stuff that's due on September 1st. Then we get into brainstorming, and we're just going to very shortly brainstorm here. This is a few different activities we can do to try to figure out what you want to write about. Yeah, the first part here is brainstorming. So an experience you had with reading and writing in a paragraph. In another paragraph, tell us about a bad experience. So a good experience you had with reading and writing, then a bad experience you had with reading and writing. Tell us about a person you associate with reading and writing. So this could be your grandma helping you read on the couch and reading books to you or whatever. It could also be a teacher that you had. Any of those are fine. And then tell us about a kind of literacy you have that has nothing to do with reading and writing. So this could be learning how to do a job. This could be learning how to play a sport. It could be learning how to cook or something like that. Any of those could count as a kind of literacy. So the next part here, what you're going to do is you're going to organize your essay, and this is a brief. You're going to take whichever one of these answers you like the most, or a different one if you want to, and actually start outlining it into an essay. Yeah, so take your favorite one of these literacy narrative brainstorming assignments and organize it into these 5 different parts. And so most narratives break down into these 5 same parts. The first part is your introduction, where you're setting up your scene, your characters, who the people in the story are, where they live, what the problem is, and what's going on in your life. Most of that should be kind of set up here. You don't really face the problem until the second paragraph here, though. Description of the complication. So this is what the problem is. This is the first time you encounter whatever the problem is. Maybe it's that you're... yeah, I'll give an example in a second. But anyway, so the first time you face the problem, that would be here. And this is usually where it like beats you really badly and you feel like you're not going to actually be able to get past it. Evaluation of the complication. So this is where you start figuring the problem out. You start studying more. You start trying to solve whatever it is. Resolution. This is where you actually solve it, or you don't solve it, but you face it somehow. And then what you learned, this is how you applied whatever that is to your broader life. So you didn't just end up writing a really hard essay. You also learned how to work, and you learned to believe in yourself or whatever. So you need a conflict for a story like this. Every story has a conflict, and this is how it needs to play out. If you don't have a conflict, it's going to be really hard to write. But, so for an example for this, let's say that you're going to you're moving to a new school in a different country than you've ever lived in before. You have to learn English for the first time. So your introduction, you set up the scene. This is, you've come to a new school, you don't know anybody, your teachers are scary, the other students are scary, people are making fun of you. Description of the complication. Your teacher tells you to speak in front of the class, and you try to speak, and people laugh at you, and you get super embarrassed, and you don't talk for the rest of the day. Evaluation, so how you figure out the complication. Your teacher comes to you and she says, we can work on this. I'm sorry that they laughed at you, but we're going to make this better. And gives you study materials and tells you to stay after school, and you start staying after school, and you start learning and getting better. Resolution, this is where you actually start getting the hang of English. you're able to speak in front of the class at the end of the year without having too many problems. And if a couple of people laugh at you, then you feel like you don't really care anymore. And you're a stronger, better person as a result. And then the last part here, what you learned. You learned English, but you also learned that you can overcome anything if you really try. And you go out there and you're going to really grab the world by the horns. So the next part here, part B, this is telling you to add details. For all of these papers, whenever you have trouble having enough to say, the answer is always adding details. And especially with a story like this, details are your friends. They're going to make your paper longer, but they're also going to make it a better paper and make it so that other people reading it will be able to understand what you're talking about and what you're going through better. And there's some examples of that here. So you're going to basically make an outline like this. You're going to flesh it out with more and more details, and eventually, when you're once you get to 1,000 words, then you'll turn it in. Okay. So you'll turn your paper into the peer review discussion next. And how this works is what you'll do is once your paper is done, you'll go to this discussion page. You'll go down to reply. You will then attach it as a file, whatever kind of document it is, and press post. We will know that it's you because of the name that comes up. And once you'll have all of those posted by, those will all be due Sunday, the 11th of September. After that, Sunday, September 11th, you'll post all of these. After that, you will have 2 days to go back and give feedback to your peers. So you'll pick 3 peers from the discussion board. You'll read over their papers, and you will give them feedback based on these 9 questions, these 8 questions here. So read over these questions, read through their papers, and then answer each one of these questions as a reply to their reply. Make sure to pick people that haven't had a lot of responses, so that not only a couple people end up with all the feedback. You'll have that done by Tuesday the 13th, and so once you've turned in all of your feedback to other people, they will have turned in all their feedback to you. You'll be able to go through that feedback and make corrections to your own paper, and then the second draft of your paper is due to me on September the 15th. And so you will just turn that into the Turn-in Paper 1 assignment, the same one that we had open before. Yeah, this one. So there's one up here that says Submit Assignment, and you'll turn it in there. If you want to know how this assignment should look, also you can find these 2 sample essays here, and both of them give really good examples of what I'm looking for. So once you have that turned in, that will be on that Thursday at 7 p.m. I will go and read over them. I'll give you all feedback and notes on what to do, and I'll put up the video explaining some of the main issues that I saw popping up over and over again. Once you've got your feedback, once you've seen that video, you will have a week to rewrite it, and the rewrite will be due on September 27th. Alright, that's everything for Module 2. If you have any questions, send me an email.